In New Orleans, most of the city is below sea level, but people that are in low-lying areas are usually people of color. And so they're usually disproportionately affected by flooding.
No matter where you're at on the political spectrum about climate change is real in the effects that we feel it with urban heat because there are less trees in urban settings. We are the first and the last to recover from hard rain events.
Growing up in the lower Ninth Ward and listening to the stories of people there, whenever a storm comes, they sort of become traumatized again by seeing water in their backyards or in their front yards, and seeing this water constantly coming up the lower 9 whenever it rains. I don't know if I want to live here, and that's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do. Someone shouldn't feel like they want to leave home because it's raining and your yard is filling up with water when there's a solution.
WaterWise Gulf South is a nonprofit. We're dedicated to advancing green infrastructure in the Gulf South. We work with community-based organizations, educate residents about green infrastructure. We implement green infrastructure demonstration projects so that residents can see how green infrastructure works.
Green infrastructure is used to manage water where it falls. In communities of color in particular that have less resources and less access to educational programming about stormwater management, using nature-based solutions such as bioswales, rain gardens, French drains, planter boxes, and a host of other measures to remediate or mitigate flooding. Through the WaterWise Gulf South model, we're able to, again, engage, educate, and empower residents to make decisions about how stormwater management will be maintained.
Our organization has helped bring to life 160 green infrastructure projects that manage about 100,000 gallons of water per each rainstorm event. We work a lot of times with our neighborhood champions to install projects at their house so that they can demonstrate to their neighbors how green infrastructure works.
Using one of our homeowners' rain garden, we were able to show others how this can work in their yards. And from there, she advocated for green infrastructure in the community, and we were able to use green infrastructure to completely eliminate the water that was in her yard after rain events.
We have over 117 envisioned priority projects by residents, and together these projects can bring up to $17 million of ecosystem benefits to the city of New Orleans.
Being able to work with residents, to educate them, to see what nature-based solutions can be used to reduce the effects of climate change has been one of the most rewarding things because it brings about a sense of community around a common issue. None of us can control nature and environment, but we can do something to mitigate those changes and slow down the effects that impact us.
One of the most important things you can do in a community is show results. The WaterWise Gulf South Collective, or WaterWise Gulf South in particular, was intentional with working with BIPOC communities. They were all throughout the city, and everyone who wanted to be involved with reducing flooding and increasing green infrastructure in their community had an opportunity. But I can proudly say, these Black women, they stepped up.
I think it's super important to have community-based organizations at the table, but not just at the table, with the idea that they're going to take full responsibility and ownership of a lot of these projects.
The other thing that we want to do is to ensure that the community organizations get more funding. Capacity requires funding. We help the community organizations put together grant proposals and secure other funding mechanisms to help advance the green infrastructure projects in their communities.
Most importantly, the people need to be respected and heard. We may not have all of the degrees, but we live in communities that we know. Respect the people that live in the communities, respect cultural and social norms, and this is how we're going to be able to mitigate the effects of climate change.